We were fighting for the public option, but our next guest does not believe that it is necessary for health care reform. It's an interesting set of articles that he's written. It's Jeff Jacoby from the Boston Globe. Jeff, welcome to the Young Turks.
Hey, good to be back with you.
All right, great to have you. Now, two separate arguments that you made. One is that the profit of the healthcare industries are simply not that large.
Right.
And you've got a couple of facts here that you've quoted. Overall profit margin was 2.2% for health insurance companies, and that they were 35th in profitability in 2008 among Fortune 500 list of top industries. All right.
Right. The argument keeps getting made over and over again that one of the reasons that there has to be a public option is because nothing else will force private health insurers to compete and to take the interests of patients and of the people that they insure, to treat those as uppermost, because they're otherwise going to be content to keep on slurping down those enormous profits that they're making off the backs of people who are sick. And you've had supporters of the public option in one or another of the various forms making comments about how the profits of the health industry have tripled or they've increased tenfold. Or I think Harry Reid said something like they make more money than any other industry in America. And the facts simply don't bear that out. The Associated Press did a story a couple of weeks ago in which the reporter went and looked at the actual statistics, looked at the actual data, and they were the ones that you were just citing. The health insurance industry makes money. It's profitable, but not especially profitable. 2.2% profit margin in 2008. That puts it way below all kinds of industries, everything from software to beer. So the idea that these are somehow uniquely rapacious and greedy companies that are making profits at obscene and immoral levels, Nancy Pelosi called them immoral profits, just doesn't bear up when you look at the facts.
Jeff, there are 3 points that we got to discuss in that light. Let me start with just point one. In 2008, their profits dipped a little bit, but they were much healthier in earlier years when we did not have a recession. 2007, 2006, 7.6% overall for the whole industry, which is very, very good. It's not through the roof, and you're right that Harry Reid saying they're the most profitable industry is just flat out not correct. They're not the most profitable industry. But that gets to point number one. Yes. Now, are there shareholders making a ton of money? Overall, yes, they're in the billions. United Health, for example, I think even in the downturn made around $3 billion, right? Now, you might say as a percentage of $81 billion in revenue, it's not that high a percentage, but $3 billion still pays the bills. But that's only part of where the money is going, Jeff. The other part is CEO pay. Now, when you take United Health, this, again, in 2008, poor Stephen Helmsley, his salary came down to $3 million. It was near $13 million the year before, but that's not where he's really making his money. It's stock options. He's got over $700 million in stock options. The CEO for United Health, William McGuire, before him, had over $1.7 billion in stock options. Jeff, isn't that money? I mean, just take that $2.4 billion combined.
Listen,
money that could be coming to healthcare instead of to the CEOs?
I'm perfectly happy to agree with you that paying CEOs outrageous sums of money is certainly something that ought to be publicized, and they ought to be, ought to be held up to public scrutiny. Whether passing laws to try to control it is a good idea or not, I'm more skeptical about. But my interest is that there should be a healthy health insurance industry, that we ought to be able to get insurance in this country, we ought to be able to get health insurance in this country to function as effectively and in as pro-consumer a way as all other kinds of insurance do. But the way to go about doing it isn't to say we're going to have the government come in and create a so-called public option and undercut what the private insurers are able to do, all because we're angry that some CEOs are making ridiculously large amounts of money. Let the shareholders of those companies rein in the CEOs. Let the shareholders, express their outrage. As a matter of public policy, that isn't where our concern should be. Our concern should be, how do we make sure that people who need health insurance can get it, and how do we make sure that health insurance does what it's supposed to do?
We're with the Boston Globe's Jeff Jacoby. Jeff, I had a question, but what you just said brings up a question for me as well. I mean, that is all well and good. I would not say that anybody has has diluted this argument down to it just being because CEOs are getting extra money. I think that that's just a point that Cenk was making. I don't think by any means he was saying that's the problem with healthcare in America. The problem with healthcare in America is too few people are uninsured, and there has not ever been a good solution to it until now that has come to the fore. I mean, I think that's, you know.
Can I just clarify that point real quick? It's not that, hey, you know what, I'm pissed that some CEO is making too much money. The argument people are making, Jeff, is that that money is going outside of actually providing health care to people. And that's why people are arguing for a public option where we say, hey, why don't we not pay the CEO $1 billion? Why don't we not do marketing, have extra marketing costs? Why don't we have greater efficiency, which Medicare is actually more efficient than private insurance in overhead costs?
Cenk,
that way we can save money for the consumer.
Listen, I understand the argument perfectly. What I'm responding is that creating a public option, having the government come in as a new Bigfoot in the health insurance business, first of all, is not the best way to control the salaries that are paid to CEOs of private companies. And even beyond that, no matter how outrageous you think those salaries are, they amount to a drop in the bucket, a drop of a drop in the bucket as a percentage of what gets spent in this country on health care.
But, Jeff, why don't we have the public option, and let's see if it works. Let's see if you don't pay that, what you call a drop in the bucket, which a lot of people would think is a lot of money. I get that you're saying on a relative scale, but why don't we try an option where we don't pay that, and we just cover people's health care and see if it works?
Well, a couple of answers to that. First of all, we have experience with what public option health insurance in this country looks like. Since 1965, we've had Medicare and we've had Medicaid. Look at how badly those run. They are racing for a cliff. They're heading for bankruptcy. I think the latest Medicare trustees fund says that Medicare is going to start running a negative balance in just 8 years. The way that they deal with the constant pressure that they're under to control costs is by paying healthcare providers, doctors, and hospitals below market rates. Meanwhile, the budget, the share of the federal budget that Medicare and Medicaid account for, grows larger with each passing year. The idea that having the government come in to run a business is somehow going to make that business lean and mean and efficient, I just don't think there's anything in our experience that bears that out.
Well, Jeff, I dare say that, and it's anecdotal, but it's more than anecdotal because people talk about it all the time. Is that the efficiency of Medicaid is often looked at as a model. Now, the financial the welfare of those programs right now is put into doubt for a variety of reasons. One of them is the cost of living and the cost of care. But that goes to what we were talking about before with my first question. It actually ties in nicely, the question that I hadn't yet asked you, which is the fact that there's a stranglehold. That yes, these healthcare companies are not making as much as people are saying, but they have a stranglehold on the pharmaceutical companies, on the medical device manufacturers, on the private hospitalization, on the hospice care companies. So that whole community is making so much money at the cost to consumers who are not being able to be insured.
And to me, the proper response is to look at the way other elements in the insurance industry work, the ones that we don't have these kind of complaints about, figure out what is it that they're doing right that isn't being done right in health insurance, and see if we can apply those lessons. You don't hear this kind of talk and this kind of outrage and disgust and dismay when you talk about homeowners insurance or renters insurance or automobile insurance or term life insurance.
But excuse me, I just want to interrupt you.
What is it about those kinds of insurance that's being done right that isn't being done right in health care? And that's why I wrote the second of these two columns, to suggest that there are reforms that can be done that don't require having the government create a whole brand new entitlement to try to somehow compete with private.
Yeah, let me be clear about one thing. Your information and your research and your knowledge of this is fine, and I respect that you have a differing opinion about it. Mm-hmm. However, to compare car insurance, homeowners insurance, and the like to this kind of insurance, we all drive a car. The cars are essentially the same. We either have a poor record of driving, which will drive our prices up if we have an accident, etc. There's a uniformity about it. There's no uniformity about the way we are built, the conditions that we have, the medical liabilities that we have, because one of us has diabetes, one of us was born with spina bifida, and one of us is perfectly healthy, and one of us smokes. So there's always going to be a variance in the way we insure people versus the way we insure homes and cars.
Right. That may be so. I'm certainly not saying that human beings are just like cars or just like homes or anything else. Although, when you talk about life insurance, you are talking about human beings, and lifespans differ for all kinds of reasons, and those kind of insurers have to take account of the risks of the people that they're insuring. But the question ought to be, in other words, if you're not starting from the premise that you want the government to take over a huge additional share of the economy, which is not the premise. I don't start from that premise. I want to see the government's role remain as limited as possible, consistent with the public good. So if you begin with that perspective, then the reason that I'm suggesting that we look at other kinds of insurance is not to say that people are like cars, but to say, look, the business of insurance needs certain factors to run effectively. What are they? So, for example, one of them is a national market. You can buy almost any product, almost any service, almost any good in this country across state lines. If you want to buy a computer, you want to buy a car, you want to buy, a telephone specs, you can go across state lines, and there's plenty of competition from everywhere.
I got to jump in there.
Health insurance is one of the only areas where that's not possible,
I got to jump in,
there's
Jeff.
a huge market distortion.
We're almost out of time. I almost want to do a whole separate interview about your second article, because there's a lot of...
That's good, too.
There's a wealth of issues there. But I got to correct two things here. Number one, this is not an entitlement. This is not subsidized by the government. So it's unlike Medicare and Medicaid in that sense. You pay premiums into it. So, you can say, hey, the post office is terrible, right? But it provides an amazing service for about 40 cents. But if you don't like it, you can go to UPS or FedEx. Or you can go with the public option.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay.
That's a good comparison. And actually, President Obama brought up the post office when he was talking about a public option. First of all, it's illegal for any other... For anyone in the private sector to deliver mail first class. It's not simply that the post office does it at a price that everyone can afford and nobody competes with. There's a law making it illegal for anyone else to deliver letters on a first class basis.
You think somebody's going to deliver letters across the country for less than 40 cents?
I look at all of the things that entrepreneurs in the public sector are able to do, all kinds of things, and I don't rule out anything. I agree with you that it seems unlikely to me that somebody's going to deliver a letter between Boston and Cape Cod for the same price that same letter can be delivered from Boston to Anchorage, Alaska. To me, that's just an illustration of how the Postal Service is badly run. But it's also a hugely subsidized business. The Postal Service gets tens of billions of dollars every year from the taxpayer.
All right,
and
Jeff,
that's exactly what the public option would end up requiring as well.
Okay, we're really short on time, but the bill does not require subsidies. The bill requires premiums to pay for it, and it gives you an option. You say it's never been done before, but it has, and as far as the mail is concerned, we have our options, and it's okay. But the second point, and this is critical, is that this is not like any other product. So when they go, if your car insurance says, hey, you know what, I want to reduce costs a little bit, I'm not going to pay for that bumper that you smashed in the road. Hey, that sucks and that's terrible, but you can live. When your health insurance says, I'm not going to pay for it, you're going to die, right? So you can't just say, hey, you know what, we're just running businesses here and we're trying to make money and the CEOs make the billion, or maybe they could make 500 million or 100 million, whatever it is. But you're running a business based on whether people live or die.
Well, as you say, we got to do a whole other show just to be able to focus on this. It isn't true. I disagree with you. I don't think it's true that health insurance is by definition different from any other kind of business and any kind of other service or need that people have. Listen, food is vital. Different people have different food needs, and if you don't get the right kind of food, you can get sick, you can get weak, you can die. And yet we don't say that there ought to be a public option by the government to provide food, to sell food.
Jeff, let's talk. We're capitalists, right? We're capitalists, right? Focus on the profit motive, okay? So if you run a company and you want to provide the best bananas so more people can buy it, et cetera, okay. You provide inferior bananas, everybody's going to live. But if you have the profit motive and you're in healthcare, your profit motive is to pay out less care, and so you can make more money, and that involves people not getting treatment, and some of those people die. Can you not see how that's different?
No, I think you're wrong. That's a caricature. And go back to the bananas. If you consistently provide lousy bananas, you're going to go out of business because customers are going to stop buying bananas from you and they're going to go to your competitor. And what's true of bananas is also true of health insurance, or at least it would be if people had the option to compete among all kinds of different insurers and weren't only stuck to the handful that dominate their state. If you were the kind of insurer who routinely denied care and refused to pay and were causing people to suffer needlessly or to die, how long do you think it would take before you were out of business?
I guess it would take
because nobody would come
Jeff,
to you to buy
I guess
insurance?
it would take till exactly now. because that's exactly what they've been doing for the last 50 years or so. Why do you think they have to put it in the bill that, hey, will you stop doing pre-existing conditions? Will you stop doing rescission, where you say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to pay your bills because you had acne, you had this, or you had that, you filled out your form wrong. That's the exact thing we're trying to correct here, because they haven't done it in 50 years.
And not to mention, and to follow up on another point you just made, Jeff, you say, well, it would be great if we had the competition. It doesn't exist because we have these behemoths in these states right now that restrict our competition. Right now, we have a bill that was just passed by the House of Representatives which cures that, or attempts to cure that, attempts to do something curative to the industry and the industry's stranglehold on the states and the Americans.
That's the way it's being sold by its advocates. That certainly isn't what it would do. A public option, the way it's been envisioned and described by people like Nancy Pelosi or President Obama, would have the effect of undercutting market rates, not fair competition, but unfair competition. It would make the playing field unlevel, and an increasing number of Americans would find themselves with no option but to go to the public option. That's not a way. That's not the way to make this.
I can't help but think that those are the same arguments that were being made against people who were in favor of some of the other social and medical programs that have been passed over the past 60 or 70 years. There's no way we will know which of us is right until you come on the show again in 10 years.
Right, except that the difference is that the reforms that I'm proposing are much more doable and much less.
Right.
They require much less of an upheaval
Jeff,
in the way Americans have been used to living. We can try mine, and if they don't work out the way that I predict that they will, then there's always the option of going to something even bigger and even.
We could try
Jacoby in 2012, I guess.
All right, Jeff. Well, that's part two. We'll hopefully do part two on another day. We're 100% out of time. Well, we thank you for joining us, Jeff Jacoby from the Boston Globe.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Young Turks.
If you like this clip, you'll love the whole show. You can watch that at theyoungturks.com.